Okay guys, here we go. 14 tips to help you do less of this and maybe this and more of getting in safely and comfortably through breaking waves as you're coming into shore, or maybe going through breaking waves in an inlet. Now, if you're an experienced ocean paddler, you're probably going to be going duh to most of these tips, but most of these tips I had to learn through trial and error, a lot of error. And so I thought I'd share them here with you today, so you don't have to do things like this. Tip number one, when you bring in your OC1, your Surfski, your kayak into shore with breaking waves, is pick your spot. Again, it seems like a no-brainer, but you want to check for pedestrians. Make sure there's nobody in the area that you're coming in, the potential impact zone. The last thing that we want is to come hurtling in through a group of tourists on boogie boards with our 20-foot missile. So be sure that the area is clear when you're coming in when there are breaking waves. If there's any chance at all that you're going to fly out of control, make sure there's nobody within striking distance. Also, look for an area with a little less shore break. Sometimes here in southeastern North Carolina, we may have one section that has a lot of shore break. The waves are pitching up nice and strong. And then 25 yards over, we've got an area where the water's just gently coming up onto the shore. And so I'm going to go for gentle rather than shore break. So have a look at the area, know your exit point, and have a look at the area and look for a place that's going to be a little less traumatic as you come in. Timing is important too. If you have time, sit outside a little bit and kind of watch the wave pattern. So here we get sets of waves, maybe in groups of 3 or 4. So I like to sit outside for a second if I have time and kind of look, okay, I see the waves are coming in sets of 3 today, or they typically come in sets of 4. And that will gauge, that'll control when I take off to go into shore. Now, obviously, you can't do this if you're in a race. You don't have the luxury to sit out and kind of watch the waves and see what the patterns are going to be. But if you've been out for a leisurely paddle or a workout on the ocean, this is a pretty good habit I found, at least around here. The other aspect of picking your spot is knowing your shoreline if possible. So you need to know what your shoreline is like at the particular tide level that you're coming in. So here where we paddle, many times during high tide, we'll have, especially after the hurricanes we've had this year, we might come up and our nose of the surfski or the canoe will actually be almost touching sand. We'll hop off and 10 feet away, we're standing in chest deep water. Other times during low tide, we might be able to come in, pass over the bar, and then we're in knee deep water for 20, 30 yards. So it's important to know how deep the water is and how safely you can navigate through that water. So just know your spot, pick your spot, and know the spot where you're going to be pulling out. Tip number 2, choose your traffic pattern. That just means that if you're paddling with other paddlers, it may be a good idea to space yourselves out a little bit. One thing that I found is that when you're coming in through some gnarly waves that are pitching up, it actually can magnetize outrigger canoes and surfskis, and it will draw them together when the wave breaks, and you will have many, many dings to repair. So that's a scientific fact. It's true. So don't test me on it, but if you can, again, in a race, you're not going to have this luxury, but if you're out on, paddling with buddies, it might be a good idea to come in at separate times, come in on separate waves. Also, don't come in right behind your buddy on the wave. So if he takes one wave in and he wipes out and goes out of control, once the wave has you, you may not be able to control things, and you may, again, magnetized 20-foot missile, things may come together in a way that you don't want them to come together. So tip number 2, choose your traffic pattern, space yourselves out accordingly. Tip number 3, choose your wave. Okay, so if it's a small wave, you might be able to just ride the wave all the way in, just like, and just surf it in, just ride the front of the wave all the way in. If you've got large waves or steep waves that are pitching up and breaking, you're going to do better if you follow the wave in. So if you're big pitching waves, you may need to follow the wave in. We'll talk more about that later. That's actually a tip, but know the waves and pick the waves that you're going to go in. You don't have to just rush in. Tip number 4, always wear a leash, except I like to unleash when I'm coming in through heavy surf. Now, clearly this does not apply when I'm coming in through an inlet, because I'd like to have a boat if I fall out. I'd like to have a boat to finish my paddle with. But if I'm coming into shore, we have found, at least around here, it actually works a bit better if we unleash, if we take the leash off before we come in through the impact zone, come in through the surf. So what that does is it saves my leash, and we found that the boats will just gently go up to shore. It doesn't damage the boats, or at least not so far. We've never had damage to the boat. It's a lot easier for us to get in than having the boat in the impact zone just getting hammered over and over again. Along those lines, let me just say the last tip, not for everybody. You may be more comfortable attached to your boat as you're coming in through the shore break, but that's just what we find here. We always take our leash off before we come in through the shore break, and that's been a big help. Tip number 5, if you're in a surf ski or if you're in a boat with a bailer, go ahead and open the bailer. So on the Epic V10 Sport here, I always open the bailer before I come in, because if something happens, I get sideways or I fill up with water, then I'm sitting here with 40, 50 pounds of extra water, and it's hard for me to get going again, and it's easy for you to get wiped out. So always open the bailer before you go in. Let that water drain out. If it fills up, that's just going to kind of give you a head start on getting a lighter boat as you try to go in. Tip number 6, and this is probably the best tip I've got. I don't know why it's not tip number 1. I had to set it up. Think about following a wave rather than catching the front of the wave. Like I said earlier, if it's a small wave, you can catch the wave and surf it in. But if waves are large or picking up very steep, then follow the wave. Think about putting, so there's the wave. Think about putting the nose of your craft directly behind the wave, sort of like you would do if you were downwinding, and draft on that wave coming in. So let the wave pull you into shore. That's probably saved my boat more times than any of these other tips. So think about drafting a wave in rather than catching the front of it. Tip number 7 is commit. So if you're following a wave, you might miss it. You might not get in behind it. It may be going a little faster than you can pick up your speed. If that happens, unless you're way outside and you're very, very confident that you can turn out and then catch another wave coming in, you can draft another wave coming in, I suggest you go ahead and commit. Once you start chasing one wave, if it leaves you behind, go for it. Try to get in. Now, what's going to happen possibly is the next wave may pass under you and you can draft it because you've got your speed up, or the wave behind you may start breaking and coming down behind you. Still, remember, you're going to stay committed to going into shore. You're not going to let that catch up with you. If the white water does catch up with you, you want to keep your boat straight, keep it perpendicular to the wave. Don't let the tail get turned out to the side. If it does get turned out to the side, you're probably going to spin out a little bit. So stay perpendicular to the wave and keep your speed up. If the white water starts to catch up with you, try to go fast enough that you stay out at the bottom of the wave and stay ahead of the white water. And that's going to keep you from spinning out. Okay, tip number 8, if you are in an Outrigger Canoe, OC1, fly the AMA. You go a lot faster and you have more control on the wave. Tip number 9, don't be afraid to surf the wave in. So if you do catch the front of a manageable wave and you're on it, there's no rule that says you just have to plow straight ahead. That's how we pitch pole. That's how we bury the nose and bad things happen. So don't be afraid to surf down the line as you're coming in. You can always turn back into shore. So when you get to the shoulder of that wave, if you surf down the line, you get to the shoulder of that wave, you can always either turn back to shore and just ride that shoulder of the wave all the way to shore, or you can ride out the end of the wave, turn and follow the wave in, or catch the next wave in. But don't be afraid to surf down the line. Tip number 10, don't be afraid to use the training wheels. There's no problem, there's no shame. And if you're in an OC1 and leaning on the back Yaku, if you need to, putting some weight on the AMA. Obviously you don't want to do that if the AMA is between you and shore. But if you spin out and you get with the AMA on the high side of the wave, on the ocean side, go ahead and lean on the AMA for stability. It's there for you to keep you from flipping over. If you're on a surf ski, you can, so let's just say if we're going down the line this way, throw out that bottom leg. Your paddle is stabilizing on one side, so basically you've created a couple of outriggers. So don't be afraid to throw out that training wheel. Paddle on one side, throw out the bottom leg. And actually I'm going to link to a video that our friend Peter Valkyrie downwind, that it really demonstrates him throwing out that leg on these steep waves and how that can keep you in the ski and give you a lot of stability. And since he told me about that technique, I've used that quite a bit and it works really well. So don't be afraid to throw out the training wheels if you need them. Tip number 11, use your brakes. So how do you use your brakes? If you're coming into shore, it's a lot of power. You know, if you've coming in with the wave, sometimes it feels like you're just out of control. I mean, the ocean owns you at that point. It's actually pretty easy in most cases to get your control back again, and that's to throw out one or both legs. If you do that, most of the time, the wave is going to pass right under you and you're going to have control again. So I use that for if I want to get off a wave, it's going to pitch up too big and I just want to get off of it, I'll put out the brakes, I'll throw out my feet, and that drag will allow the wave to pass right under me. Or you can also use it as you're coming into shore, and that's how you slow the boat down so you don't end up plowing into the beach as you're getting into the shallow water. Tip number 12, don't be surprised by the backwash. So waves are coming into shore, that water's got to go somewhere, and that somewhere is back out to sea. So you may catch a wave in and you're 10, 15 yards from shore. You may find there's a lot of backwash pushing you back out to sea. You're going to have to work really hard to keep going toward the shore and not stall out in that impact zone, because at the back of that backwash, they're going to be breaking waves most of the time. So when you encounter that backwash, don't be surprised by it. Just keep digging ahead and get yourself into shore. Tip number 13, if you do fall out of your surf ski or your outrigger canoe in the impact zone, don't hang out. Get out of there. So don't hang out. Go ahead and get back. So if you are leashed to the boat or still have the boat with you, or say you're in an inlet, go ahead now. Be calm. Don't panic. Always. You know, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, right? So be calm, don't panic, but don't hang out. Go ahead and get yourself in the boat. And there have been situations where I've had to get in the boat and I'm pointing out. So I'm going to get into the boat and I'm going to go back out and try it again. There are other situations where the boat might be pointing in and I can hop in the boat and just finish the ride. Don't hang out in the impact zone. You don't want to be trying to hang onto a 20-foot boat with waves breaking on your head or very, very strong white water trying to beat you up. Tip number 14, don't linger once your boat hits the shore. Once you've gotten to shore safely and you hop out of the boat, go ahead and pick it up and get out of the way of any following surf that's coming in. Again, that's a lot of boat to try to handle in any kind of surf. Even small shore break can really create a problem for you picking up that boat. So get the boat up, get it out of the water. And remember our previous tip where we said open the bailer before you come in? If you're in a surf ski, especially like in my V10 here, the V10 Sport, it's really important for me to have that bailer open because I do not want a cockpit of water. So if I get into shore and I've got shore break coming in, following me in, and sometimes we might have shore break coming in 4-second periods. You just don't have much time. I got to hop out, lift that boat up. So I don't want to try to heft up all the extra water that's in the cockpit. So having the bailer open before I come in really helps with that. Okay, there you have it. 14 tips that can help you navigate through the surf zone, whether it's in the inlet or coming in to shore more safely. I hope you found these tips helpful. If you want to hit that subscribe button down there, we're going to be posting more videos with hints and tips, things to do, sometimes things not to do. If you do hit the subscribe button, you may want to hit the bell notification so that you'll know when we post videos and you won't miss a single video. It helps us out a lot. Hopefully it'll help you out too. As always, if you have some tips you can add to the discussion, please comment below. We love it when you guys share your experiences with us. It creates a lot of discussion and we're learning a lot from you guys. Until next time, happy paddling. Whoa, I was like right in your face there. I'll do that again.